Hello and welcome to Murder with Mike. Some stories stick to your bones. They even haunt you like a memory or a fog. And today, we're headed deep into the Sierra Nevada. And we're chasing a mystery that has lingered for nearly 40 decades. A teenage girl named Theresa Bier vanished in 1987. And the man she was with, he would claim that Bigfoot took her. Now I know what you're thinking. Bigfoot? Now that's just campfire talk. But hey, this one's different, y'all. It's got wilderness, it's got folklore, and a troubled teen, and a man with a story no one could quite believe. And yet, no one could disprove it either. Ghost Canyon, Sierra National Forest. Have you ever been somewhere that is so quiet it almost makes your bones hum? Now that's the kind of place we're talking about. Trees older than memory. Trails that twist like secrets. And silence so thick, it feels like it's listening back. Now, this isn't your average campground. We're talking remote. No cell service. No ranger station anywhere close. We're just out there in the wilderness. Raw and unforgiving. And if you get lost out there, hey, you stay lost out there. Now, Theresa and Russell Welch, known as Skip Welch, walked into this place in June of 1987. They had no backups, no map. They just had a belief in Bigfoot and a backpack full of trail mix with a man who claimed to be a guide for this area. And when this guy came back alone, his story, well, Bigfoot took her. Now, let's sit with that for a minute. A teenage girl, a grown man, way deep in the woods, and a creature of legend? That's the setup. But the train itself, now that's a big part of this story, y'all. Ghost Canyon has ravines that swallow sound. Like you could literally scream and no one would hear you for miles. It's beautiful, but let's be honest, it is brutal. And that brutality, it is what makes this case so damn haunting. Theresa Ann Bier, born April 16, 1971, in Fresno, California. She was 16 when she disappeared. But her story, it started long before that. Theresa would grow up in a rough home. We're talking abuse, neglect. We're talking bouncing from different homes. You know, she was tough, but she really carried a sadness with her from this. Almost like she'd seen way too much to be that young. She was smart. She was streetwise. She loved animals. And she loved the outdoors. But she was very trusting and very vulnerable. And that is where someone like Russell Skip Welch would come in. He was 43, y'all. She was 16. And he called himself this big Bigfoot hunter. And she just called herself a friend. I mean, maybe she was looking for adventure. Maybe she just wanted someone to see her. But what she found, no one still knows for sure. And on June 1st, 1987, Theresa and Welch would head into the Sierra Nevada. And they would camp near Shut Eye Peak, about 25 miles northeast of Bass Lake. And that night around 7:20 p.m., something happened. Welch says that they got separated. He claims that Bigfoot must have abducted her. But what we do know, Welch came back alone. He came back calm. Maybe too calm. He would tell no one at first. Not until deputies came to him, knocking on his door. And then he would tell deputies this story. And they would arrest him, of course. They would question him. And he would even offer to take them up to this area where the two had been camping that night. But they still let him go. Why? Because they cannot prove that she didn't leave on her own? Search teams would comb this area. Helicopters, dogs, volunteers. But sadly, nothing. No blood, no clues, no clothes. No signs of struggle. Just a young lady gone in the middle of nowhere. And that is where this trail would go cold. Let's talk about Russell Skip Welch, a man with a mission. He said he was out to prove that Bigfoot was real. He has said that he has seen the creature before. Welch's nephew, he would say that Welch would take him up there to this area often, and that Welch had told him that Theresa had left with a couple of bikers. But his official story to law enforcement and to everyone else was simply, well, Bigfoot must have taken her. But hey, let's be real. Welch was a grown man taking a teenage girl into the woods, alone, overnight, possibly with an arrangement with her guardian, Blind Johnny, who we'll get to in a bit. And Welch comes back without her. He comes back alone. And it is also quoted by several other sources that Welch had taken other teenage girls into these same woods to see Bigfoot overnight. And one girl said that the day that they were to leave, that Welch had ordered his daughter, who happened to be the girl's friend, to stay home for some reason. Luckily, this girl was smart enough to ask a couple of her other friends to accompany her out there so that she wasn't alone in the woods with this grown man overnight. Now, Welch's nephew would also claim that Welch would drug these girls and scare them with Bigfoot stories, and that while they were drugged, he would take advantage of them. But hey, there's a lot of whispers and a lot of beliefs in this one, y'all. But back to Welch. Some say he was delusional. Others, they would say he was a predator. Maybe both. But the law enforcement could not pin him. And without a body, there was no case, y'all. So let's lay all this out. Now, we've got 5 theories, I think. We've got that Welch harmed her. Like, he had motive, he had opportunity, but there is entirely no evidence. There is no confession, there is no body. All there is a crazy Bigfoot story. Our second, Theresa ran. Now, maybe Theresa did get scared. Maybe she bolted. Theresa did have a terrible upbringing, and at the time that we're talking about, she was living with her uncle, Blind Johnny. And he was a character that she probably wanted to get away from by the accounts of those who were really close to her. But where'd she go? Like, there's no sightings. There's no trace of her anywhere else for 40 years. All right, our third theory. Bigfoot, y'all. Sasquatch. The guy himself. All right, so Welch's story. That this creature took her. Now, this sounds wild, but it is the only explanation that he ever gave publicly. And many would say that Welch really truly believed in Bigfoots in this area. and that he was adamant about this. So our fourth theory. So we have the third party theory. Could someone else have been out there? Like, was there a drifter? A random hunter at the same time? Like, maybe the speed freak killers? Yes, y'all, there was a couple bikers who during this time rode around California and Utah abducting and unaliving young ladies. But regardless of this, there's no proof, and one of them has claimed that he had nothing to do with it, and he has admitted to all the other ones that they had done. Alright, so let's get into the fifth theory. Accident. Like, could she have fallen? Could she have got lost out there? Could she have died of exposure? Like, this area that we're talking about, that they were in, it was not mapped. Like, we're talking about a real survivalist area. But again, there's no remains, there's no clues, and there's just a bunch of silence. Alright, y'all, each theory has a lot of holes. Each one leaves us with more questions than answers. Like, Bigfoot, it isn't just a monster. If we're being honest, it's a mirror. It is a reflection of our fears, our mysteries, and our need to explain the unexplainable. And in rural America, we love to tell stories. Like, we love to pass down legends. And hey, sometimes those legends, y'all, they can swallow up real people whole. So, was Bigfoot real? Maybe. Was he responsible? Probably not. But hey, in this case, this myth, this creature, this story, it became the mask that protected a possible killer for 40 years. So in 2025, Bigfoot Took Her, a documentary dropped. It had 3 episodes that really went into this case. It was done by investigators Jessica Chobo and Robert Collier. And let me tell you, they dig deep into it. Like, they talk to family, they talk to cops, they talk to experts, they do their own investigation. But they do not solve this case, y'all. But what they do is shine a light on a case that has been 40 years. And sometimes that is enough just to stir up that dust. And what happens? People start talking. They start sharing their theories. They start remembering Theresa. And hey, that matters more than anything. Now, I've covered a lot of cases, y'all. But this one, it really lingers. Because what it does, it asks a question that we don't like to face. What happens when truth hides behind legend? What I do know is that Theresa Bier deserved answers. Whether she ran, whether she was taken, or met something stranger than fiction. Her story, it matters. And hey, if anyone out there knows something, say something. If you remember her, speak her name loudly. Because stories like this, they don't fade. They wait. And we owe it to Theresa to keep asking. Alright, y'all. This has been Murder with Mike. I'm Mike Biggers. And stay curious, stay kind, and remember, truth is out there. Sometimes in the woods, sometimes in the dark silence, sometimes in the light right in front of you. Good night, y'all.